Now that I have my eggs set and ready to go, I've placed them here in the Nurture Right 360 incubator. Love this incubator. It's really easy, hands-off kind of incubator. You just put your eggs in the incubator on their side. I have in my incubator a shelf liner there at the bottom, and I keep this in there through the entire process. This makes it easier to clean later on after the chicks have hatched. So the eggs are in here. They are on their side. This batch is full, or this incubator is full of Iowa blue eggs. Right now this the vent is totally closed. We'll open that here in a minute, and it's not plugged in. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you how this sets up. So we have this little plug here. There are two plugs in the back of this. Turn it around. So there are two plugs. This one here is power to the egg turner, and this other one here, plug this in, is what powers the entire unit. Now, one thing I didn't say on my cleaning video on this is do not get this top piece wet at all. This is where all of your electronics are. This is going to beep really loud. It's kind of annoying. Now, if you ever lose power or this thing gets too hot or too cold, that is the noise that you are going to hear, and it is downright annoying, but that's the point of it. You want to kind of shimmy this to make sure it's completely on and locked in place, otherwise you're going to lose your temperatures and your humidities and things like that. There are little, right here, there's little tabs, and that's what you want to make sure are kind of locked in. You want that lid to be locked into those, that little tab right there. Now to set this, right now we are sitting at, what are we at? We are at, goodness gracious, 83 degrees and 69% humidity. So to set this right now I don't have this light on. This light tells me that my turner's on. If I push this button over here, which is the menu, it tells me we have 0 days. Now this is going to get, again, really loud. So to reset this, you're going to hit the power or the menu button and the negative at the same time. For 5 seconds. Well, that's how you set the temperature on day 21. That's not what we want to do. We want to do a factory reset. So what you saw there where the day was blinking, where it said D21, if you decided that you needed to set this for a different day, you wanted to do duck eggs, let's say duck eggs are 28 days, you would do that and then put the plus button to do 28 days. All right, there we go. So our temperature's still rising, but at least our light on is right here. That tells me the turner is on. If I do this, we are set today to 21 days. Now, one thing you want to do is make sure that your turner is working. To test your turner, you're going to hit both the plus and minus button. And you watch your eggs turn. You can do this a couple of times to make sure that all of the eggs are rotating around. And that's how this works. So this thing will turn on its own throughout the whole 21-day process, or 18-day process actually. It does not turn the last 3 days. So the last 3 days when it's on lockdown, this light over here will turn off. Now, something else that you want to do, since my humidity is at 64, I'm not going to add water right now. As the temperature goes up, that humidity will actually go down. We've got a lot of clouds in the sky. We've got a thunderstorm rolling in, so our humidity is really high right now, our ambient humidity. But one of the things you want to do, and this is what I really love about this incubator, is these are the water ports right here. Now, if you notice, this one has B, this is A, and this is considered B. B stays closed on this thing. B port has opens up, or it supplies water through the entire perimeter, the outside of the incubator. The port A goes to the very center over there into the incubator. That's where the water's going to go. So what you want to do is you want to fill this to about that halfway point, and you just do the water slowly. If you do it too fast, it'll just fill it and overflow. So just put a little bit of water, and you want it to that halfway point. I like to keep my incubators at about the 30 to 40% mark during the incubation process. A lot of times, you know, it'll fluctuate. Guess what? A hen gets on and off of her nest during the incubation process. It does not have to be maintained at a perfect humidity at all times. It is okay. Some people feel that it has to be maintained the same thing all the time, and they will put a shoestring that runs to this port into a cup so that it will always have water in it. To me, I feel that's a little bit overboard, but to each their own. Do it how you want to do it. Some people never add water to this, and that's great if you live in a high humidity area. That's called dry hatching, and that's fine too. Each person finds the way that hatching works for them. All right, so next we have this air port. You don't want this all the way open like this for the whole time. You can leave it open. I don't leave it open. I usually, for the first week, put it at basically a quarter mark. Then when I check these at 1 week, I will open it up to half. When I check them at 2 weeks to check for movement, I will usually open it up all the way. So for now, I just put it at the quarter mark. So once this is totally set and ready to go, I will usually cover my incubators. Most of the time I do this more so in the winter time because it's colder, we have drafts in our house, and it helps to maintain the temperature throughout the incubator. It makes it easier for the incubator to maintain temperature. Also, as we get into lockdown, it gets very humid in here, and the temperatures outside are usually much cooler, and we'll have condensation on the inside of the incubator, and that keeps that condensation from developing inside and keeps the chicks from getting wet in there from that condensation. Second reason I like to do it is it keeps the dust off the top of my incubators, so I will cover them to keep them from being covered in dust. During hatch, this also works because it keeps it dark in here. The chicks usually are much quieter when it's darker. This one here is our last one to hatch, and he has needed a little help, so he's drying off, and then we'll be going out to the brooder, and we'll get that one cleaned and set and ready to go. It's been a week since the eggs have been in the incubator, and you're probably wondering why I have some eggs in the dark and I'm in my pantry. Well, this is the darkest spot in my house, and we're going to candle the eggs today to see which ones are viable. Now, I've already actually candled these eggs, so I know which ones are viable and which ones aren't, but I want to show you what you're looking for. So when you're candling your eggs, you really want to have a nice strong flashlight to be able to look through them. You're going to want to candle the fat end of the egg. You want to put your light here at the fat end, not down here at the pointy end. When you put your light at the end, you're going to be looking through it like this. You can see there's nothing in this egg. There's nothing here. See if I can get a little closer for you. There's nothing here. This is not a fertilized egg. So this egg is thrown away. We'll move over just a little bit. All right, so this egg here, as you can see, there's our little embryo. You can see it moves around. Again, this is a week old, and they're already moving around at a week old. Kind of fun to watch. Kind of watch them all day long. But as you can see, when you're looking at them, you'll see this spider webbing of veins right here. And that's what you're looking for on a lot of them, is that spider webbing of veins. Sometimes you'll see a dark spot, and what you really want to see is you want to see movement. If that isn't really moving around, that embryo there may have died. But I know this one here is alive, doing quite well. Fun to watch. Now, one thing you want to look for too, and this is something we'll look for, I will candle again at 2 weeks. And what we're looking for on this one is things like this. That right there is called a blood ring, or the ring of death, as some people call them. What's happened here is a embryo started to develop and then it died. And what happened is all the blood vessels started to settle or float to the top, and it forms a ring. So if you see, when you candle your eggs, if you see a dark line, a lot of times later on in the development, you'll see a line a little bit further down here. If you see a line, a dark red line going around, that usually means that it died. Now, if early on, if you were to candle about day 3, you might see this line with some veins coming up to the top. That's okay, because that's how it starts out. They start out kind of with a little tiny line with some spider webbing, but this one, like I said, at a week, this is one that actually died out. So, and you can see down here, here's the yolk and everything's down there. So this is one that did not make it. So again, this is at a week into incubation. This is what you want to do, is candle your eggs, find out which ones were either fertilized or not fertilized, which ones are growing or not growing. Things like this you don't want to keep in your incubator. They would have a tendency maybe to rot and then explode. So you don't want your ticking time bombs in your incubator. So that's our 3 that we're doing today. Day 14 of our hatch. And so that means we need to check for movement within the eggs. Our first check was for vitality, for fertility, to see what was growing. And this time we need to see which ones are still making it, which ones are still growing. So the first thing I'm going to do with the Nurture Right is I'm going to unplug my turner, which looks like I've already unplugged. So this is the plug for the turner, and it goes right here. So I unplug this, and then what I'm going to do is just lift up. Let me get this situated. Well, it's kind of hard to see. So I'm going to just lift off the top here, and then I'm going to take out the, I'll pull out the bottom part. It's a two-handed job, so I'll meet you in my dark room. All right, here we are in the dark, trying to candle these eggs. So what we're looking for now is going to be all of these veins and movement. So this one's good. So I'm going to go through, check these eggs. You can see you're looking for movement. You want big, healthy veins. You don't always get to see them move. Sometimes you can do a little jiggle and they'll give you a little bit of movement sometimes. Not seeing a lot of movement on this one, but I like seeing that big vein on there. I'm going to leave that one there. Let's see, we'll get to a darker egg. I'm over here on my knees, so this is a little difficult for me. Let's check this one. This is a well-summer egg. Let's see. Oh, there was some movement in that one. Sometimes the darker eggs can be a little difficult. There we go. there. So I'm going to show you some of these others that I got from my other batches. This one obviously just didn't even grow. I don't even know why this one, I even had this in there. This one is, the air sac is here on the side. This is called a, it's like a side saddle or something, yeah, side saddle for that air sac. You don't really want to incubate anything where the air sac is on the side. The bird usually drowns. Here's one. This is a porous shell with all of these things. You can see baby started and then it just stopped. So that's when you see just a dark spot, that's a no-go. Here's another one. This one you can kind of see it looks like it started here and then it just stopped. Here's some. This one here started. And you can see there's no blood vessels in here. Usually the blood vessels all kind of just stop growing and kind of shrivel up, but so this one's it just died. So there's nothing there. You really want to remove these out of your incubator. Looks like this one may have been about right here. Let's see, here's another one. See, it started and then it just stopped. And you can see, this is me moving it. They kind of jiggle around. So these are ones that you definitely want to remove. This one again, we have a dark spot here. Looks like it started and stopped. So I'm going to finish with getting these all candled up. I go through it pretty quickly, so I don't want them to get too cold. But I'll go finish candling them, and then pull the ones, like I said, like these other ones that are not viable anymore, and then we'll get them back in going and finish out. In this incubator we have our blue-laced Wyandottes. I say blue-laced Wyandottes because it is the blue-laced red cock over my blue-laced silver hens and one blue-laced gold hen. So these offspring should be blue-laced gold pullets or blue-laced silver cockerels. I could have blue-laced gold or blue-laced red cockerels as well, but anything that has gold in it should be female. Anything, or at least anything that's silver, is definitely male. It's a sex-link type breeding. But there is one in here. I don't know if this will let me, if it will focus or not. But I have one hatch. Here you can see this one here this is what's called a pip. It's pipping. And that's that little crack that they do. So that one's going to get ready to hatch. There's another one. So what they do is they pip that egg first. So they make a little hole so that they can breathe in there. There's what's called an internal pip that they make that you can't see, and but you can hear them once they do that. And then they make an external pip. And then what they will do is they will start to crack that egg in a circle around that spot, and that's called a zip or zipping. And then after that they will push open the egg, and then like that, and they will push out. So we have one in there. Over at our, and like I said, this entire incubator is just my blue-laced Wyandottes. Over here we've got one that's pipping. These are my Easter eggers in here. Here we have one that's starting, you can kind of see, starting to zip out of this one. So it's got that process down. These eggs are what's called lockdown. Lockdown is the last 3 days of incubation. You raise the humidity up on here. Mine is set to 65% humidity. And it is, you leave it in there. You do not open the incubator. You do not want to lose that humidity. And so it's lockdown. You don't open this incubator until everybody's hatched. So that little guy in the other incubator gets to stay there until he's fluffy, dry, and everybody else is also hatched. And it'll look like a big old container. It reminds me of the Jiffy Pop popcorn. It'll be full of little chicks. So in here we have one Iowa blue. There's I think 4 regular Wyandottes, which are a mix of my gold laced, silver laced, and black Wyandottes. And there's 3 Brahmas eggs in there, and the rest of these are Easter eggers. So that's that grouping. Like I said, those are due to hatch today. I like to keep these incubators covered. Otherwise they get, humidity will start to, I'll get condensation up in here, and so it's lots of moisture. I don't like to have moisture on the sides because then the babies get wet. And this one, like I said, is due a week later. Since everything I put in this incubator didn't make it, it wasn't fertilized, I had this incubator open and empty. So in here I decided to start another batch of Iowa blues, and out of the 17 only 4 were fertilized. The rest of those in there are Brahmas. So I'm really trying to push my Brahmas and my Iowa blues, especially the Iowa blues. Those are a rare breed, and I'm really trying to hatch everything I can out of that grouping. You can see on this one we're not in lockdown, so our humidity is at 47%, which is a little bit higher than what I like, but we just added some water to it, so it's higher. So, but we don't keep that nearly as high. And then over here we've got, again, I'm collecting all my Brahma and Iowa blue eggs. That's what everything from here over is. These are some blue-laced Wyandotte eggs. I have a lady that was wanting a set, so I've been saving her a set, a dozen for her, so those are sitting there waiting for her. I don't normally put them, this is a turner that goes, this is another incubator, a styrofoam incubator here. Normally I don't put the eggs in a turner, but since I have it here, and this turner goes into this incubator, and I'm not using this incubator, it's just here, but the turner is great for the eggs to just, so that the yolk doesn't stick in one spot. This turner goes back and forth, and it keeps the egg, the yolk from sticking to one side. So it's a great little thing to have. It's not necessary though, but it's great. After 21 days, your chicks should hatch. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. This batch took about 22, 23 days. Out of this batch, I had 6 that have already hatched, and unfortunately I did not get a video of them all in here. I have since taken all the eggs that had already hatched. I took them out to kind of clean out the incubator. I have one that is still a late bloomer. This one's still working on it. You can see I've got 3 more in here that have not done anything. Once this one here has finished hatching, I do not assist with hatches. I have found that if I have to assist, those birds usually do not make it. This one is still alive. You can see it's in there still. It's still breathing. If I have to, I might, pull back a little bit of the shell just to make sure that they don't get shrink wrapped in there. This one I should expect to hatch here by the end of the night. Now I have opened up the incubator, taken the babies out. My humidity is back up to 68%, so it's still nice and humid in there for this little baby. It doesn't look like it has shrink wrapped. It looks like it's still able to move around in there. But actually I may end up taking these out, seeing if I can find a dark spot in the house, and I'll candle these eggs to see if there's any movement. If there's movement, I'll put them back. If there's no movement, I'll just end up probably throwing those eggs away. Some people like to do necropsies on their eggs to figure out why they died or what happened. A lot of times it could be drowning. This set, my dates were set wrong, and these eggs ended up being on lockdown a week early, so the humidity was raised and the turner wasn't going for a good 3 days, and I couldn't figure out why they were hatching. And when I re-looked at my paperwork, I realized that I had set the timer wrong on this, so I was off by a week. So that's, you know, user error on that part, and that was my fault, because the set it had started as I had set it with all my other incubators and put this batch in a week later, so it was still going on the old set, on the old incubator, so it was trying to hatch with everybody else. Anyway, so once your babies have hatched, these babies were in there for about 2 days, and that's why I didn't get a video again. I was anxious to get them out and get them out to the brooder. So what I did is I took them out. I put bands on them to mark them. I put rubber bands on them. We have little chick rubber bands. I put those bands on them to make sure that I can separate them from the chicks that are a week older in the brooder. That way I know who is who. And they're out there in the brooder getting warm, getting food and water, and able to move around. But they can stay in here for up to 3 days. I don't like to go usually more than 2, but they can go up to 3. You know, again, it's just we're waiting on one, and they start getting a little aggressive in here, and it gets really, really messy. So anyway, once your babies have all hatched, you know, take them out, go put them in your brooder, and then it's time to clean. So you got to get these incubators cleaned up and ready for the next batch. One thing you don't want to do is let these sit too long with the heat, because it kind of bakes all the chick goo and stuff like that on your incubators, and makes it harder to clean. So clean it as soon as you can. Don't be a procrastinator. Get them cleaned up quickly, and it makes it a lot nicer for the next time that you want to incubate. Well, our latest batch of chicks has hatched. They're all sitting in the brooder, so you know what that means? It's time to clean the incubators. So what we're doing today is getting everything cleaned up and ready for the next batch to go. So the first thing I'm doing is cleaning up the turner. This is done with a lot of scrubbing and water and my favorite thing, Dawn. Basically, it's just that simple. Clean the turners. We take out the bottom of the incubator that is a mat of, let me get this out of here. There it is. This is just a shelf liner. So we're going to clean this, get this scrubbed up. I would say this is maybe one of the harder pieces, but this helps to make it easier to clean the grid that's at the bottom of the incubator. You don't have to use the shelf liner, but I find it makes it a little bit easier to clean this piece. This is the harder piece to clean. All of these little grooves hold a lot of, you can see all of that, the down and the fluff and the dander. So all of that's going to get scrubbed out, and this will be nice and clean when I'm done. So when cleaning the incubators, the other thing you want to make sure to do is to clean the top. You can see all this baby dander, the chick dander up here in the top, and this is actually right there. That's just up on the top, and this is where it gets blown from the fan in there. It gets blown through the little hole here and up in top, and some of it gets blown from up underneath here. Now, so I'm going to clean the top, but I also clean on the inside. A lot of times, the babies end up walking up against this, and sometimes if they've got gooiness on them, they'll get on here, and I just want to make sure that this is clean. The other thing you want to look for is you'll get dander or just some dust all up in that fan. Now this fan isn't too bad right now. You can see a little bit of dander or dust up on that edge of the fan there. So what'll happen, this one probably won't get cleaned out right now, But at the end of the hatching season for me, which will be probably about June, so this will get used probably about 2 more times, what I'll do is I'll unscrew all these little the screws on here. I'll take this off, and then the fan will come out, and basically I'll give this unit a really good thorough cleaning, and then put it back together and have it ready for next year. But it's something you definitely want to look at between each of your hatches, is make sure that fan is clean, because you sure don't want that to get too hot and have it burn up or burn out. So just check on that.
Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. This was made on the request by a friend of mine who wanted to know how to incubate chicken eggs. So this was made for her and for all of those that were curious on how to incubate. So hopefully you can see how easy it is and how much I enjoy it. So again, hopefully it makes sense. If you have any questions, feel free, send them in the comments. But get out there, get to incubating, enjoy those chickens.